You will not forget that song today, will you? That was for the kids, by the way, just in case you were wondering. But Merry Christmas. It is great to have you with us at our 2 o'clock service today. Thank you so much for joining us, inviting people to come. If you're in town visiting, thanks for hanging out with us. And, of course, you're part of the journey. We love having you here. And, yeah, we got a bunch of kids in here. We know that, so it may be a little chaotic. We're good with that. Well, it's Christmas time, so that means it's gift time, right? And so I did a little research, wanted to find out what are the number one gifts for 2025. So I want to share those with you right now. Here we go. If you're a teenager, these are the number one gifts supposedly for you this year, depending on your teenage years. Nintendo Switch 2, pretty high on the list for most teenagers. And then this thing, the Lululemon Everywhere belt. Back in my day, we called those fanny packs, right? That's exactly what it is. It's just a fanny pack. So apparently for teens, that's big. Kids, Lego's still king. The Mario Kart set is a big one. And then we got these things, Squishmallows. Maybe some of you already have those. Maybe you'll get some under your trees. Who knows? All right, adults, how about us? We're more tech savvy, right? Apple AirPods Pro 3 are big. And then these things, red light therapy mask. I had to put that up there because that is like the weirdest. It's like Hannibal Lecter. Let's just be honest. Isn't that what it looks like? It throws me off. If you do that tomorrow, congratulations to you that you got that and you can share together for that. But the number one gift for everybody, okay, ready for this? The number one gift for everybody are these, the Labubu's. Everybody wants Labubu's this time of year. Nobody understands them and knows what they are, but there you go. Maybe the number one gift this Christmas. Christmas is about getting and giving, right? I mean, that's what we talked about. It's about these gifts that we give and these gifts that we get. Now, tomorrow's going to be great. You're going to eat some really great food. You're hopefully going to have a good time with family and friends. There are 3 really horrible football games that are going to be on that we'll have on and we'll watch anyway. But Christmas is all about gifts, which is kind of funny because if we look back 2,000 years ago at the original Christmas story, it was about gifts too. We're going to spend our time in Matthew chapter 2. Let me start us there. Chapter 2, verse 1. It says this: Jesus was born in Bethlehem in Judea during the reign of King Herod. About that time, some wise men from eastern lands arrived in Jerusalem asking, "Where's the newborn king of the Jews? We saw his star as it rose, and we have come to worship him." Now, here in Matthew is the only time that we have any kind of information about these wise men. We don't find their story anywhere else in Scripture. But here's the funny thing. These wise men were actually wise men. They were very, very intelligent. They were educated. They were experts. In fact, they were experts in 3 things you don't talk about at cocktail parties: politics, religion, and astrology. So don't forget the astrology piece when you go to that next cocktail party. But they were experts in this. They were again, very educated, very wealthy, part of the royal courts of the Persian Empire. They traveled to Jerusalem because something has happened that makes them want to go there to see about this new king that they realize has been born. And they bring this unwanted news to King Herod. Verse 3. King Herod was deeply disturbed when he heard this, as was everyone in Jerusalem. He called a meeting of the leading priests and teachers of religious law and asked, "Where's the Messiah supposed to be born?" As you can think here, when these Persian priests, they show up in Jerusalem, they actually cause a diplomatic crisis. Some of you in this room, you have dealt with diplomatic crises because of the work that you do. You know what can happen. And so as we see this, why is this crisis here? Why is Herod disturbed by this news? Well, part of it was Herod was actually a paranoid schizophrenic. He loved power. He loved himself. But he was always afraid someone was out to take his job, to take his role as king. And so when he hears this news, this new king has been born, it really kind of freaks him out. And he's trying to figure out, what is this news? Am I getting ready to lose my role as king here? So he's disturbed by this news. But it's not just Herod. Look at that passage. It says, as was everyone in Jerusalem. Now, why are they disturbed? They're not the king. What are they worried about? Well, you have to understand that in those days when these diplomatic groups of people, these wise men would travel, they didn't travel alone. Our image is we have these three wise men on three camels and they're all alone. That's not the way they traveled. They actually traveled with a huge entourage. They had servants with them. They had soldiers with them. And then, by the way, we actually don't know if it was three wise men. We sing a song called We Three Kings. We have three gifts. Some of you come out of a tradition that has names for those three wise men. It may have been three. It may have been 30. It was known in those days that when these wise men traveled, they would travel in groups of 12. So it may have been 12. We just don't know how many there were. What we do know is they show up and they've got this huge group of people with them. And so as they come into Jerusalem, that's going to cause a little bit of a diplomatic issue there. But this news they bring, right? This new king that's been born, where did they get this information? Why did they travel for about 5 to 6 months, over 800 miles, to show up into this little city of Jerusalem to say, hey, we want to see this king? Well, for about 600 years, the place that these wise men are from, they had been studying religious culture, or the Jewish culture and their religions of this day. And so they knew these prophecies. They knew the prophecies from the Old Testament that talked about the Messiah coming, that talked about this new king that was coming. They knew those prophecies. They knew the prophecies about there's a star that's going to show up, and when this star shows up, that's going to be the moment this new king is going to be born. And so they do what educated people do. They put those prophecies together, and they head to Jerusalem because they know the king is now alive. Well, of course, they get there. Herod's disturbed by this, but Herod says, hey, can you give me some more information about this? So they have a little meeting. Look at verse 9. After this interview, the wise men went their way, and the star they had seen in the east guided them to Bethlehem. It went ahead of them and stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. They entered the house and saw the child was with his mother, Mary, and they bowed down and worshiped him. Then they opened their treasure chest and gave him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. I'm all about dispelling myths on the wise men tonight, so I'm going to keep this rolling, all right? These wise men are not at the manger. Your cute little pretty nativity scene that you have at home where everybody's together, not the case at all. We do that because it makes the story feel better, right? Everybody shows up, and Mary just has this baby, and she's not feeling that great, and these weird shepherd dudes come up with their sheep, and then these three wise men just happen to be there. Not really how this all plays out. Jesus is actually somewhere in the range of 5 months old to up to 2 years old at this point. They do live in Bethlehem, but they live in this house, and that is the place where the wise men come and encounter Jesus. It's where they encounter this king. And so they're in the home of Mary and Joseph and Jesus. They worship the king. They bring gifts to this king. They bring him the perfect gifts. And Christmas is all about the perfect gift, right? You're buying the perfect gift, or hopefully you bought the perfect gift for your spouse, for your boyfriend, for your girlfriend, for your friends, for your kids, for your parents, for your pastor, like you did and purchase. Just want to throw that out there. But why do we do that? Why do we spend money on the perfect gift? Because we love these people, right? We care for them. We know them. And so we get them the perfect gift. So gentlemen, if you bought your wife a vacuum cleaner, we're going to be praying for you. Tomorrow's going to be really hard. You might not make it. I think the mall's still open till like 7 or 8, so you can still get the perfect gift, okay? But ladies, if you bought your husband socks and underwear, big win, perfect gift, right? The dudes are laughing because they're like, yep, we got holes. It's time for us to get some new socks and underwear. But no, we buy the perfect gift. We spend time and effort and money on the perfect gift because we know these people, we love them, we care about them, and we know what's perfect for them. That's exactly what these Persian priests do. They do bring these three gifts, and each one is thoughtful and significant and purposeful, and of course, they're perfect for the king. In fact, let me spend a moment and just kind of share with us a little bit about each one of these gifts. The first gift that we have is this gift of gold. Gold 2,000 years ago was still a big deal like it is today. In those days, it was really like handing someone a trust fund like we might do today. It was useful. It was helpful, especially as you traveled. You don't want to have to change money and currencies everywhere you went, so you would have gold with you, and it made it easy for you to travel from point A to point B. It also helped you when you were resettling somewhere, when you were moving somewhere else. You know the story of Mary and Joseph and Jesus. Not too long after the wise men, they have to go to Egypt and run away because Herod is out to find Jesus. So gold was this perfect gift, a tangible gift for Jesus. Then we have the gift of frankincense. Frankincense is this aromatic amber resin. It was used for medicine. It was an antiseptic and an anti-inflammatory medicine. It's kind of like taking ibuprofen and hydrogen peroxide and mixing them together and taking it, which you shouldn't do, but like it had those same medicinal purposes. Women would use frankincense for perfume because it smelled so good. And I will say that the homes in those days didn't smell great, all right, as you can imagine. And so it was kind of an ancient potpourri for people in their homes, just to be honest with you. It had such a great smell. But it was also used by the priest in the Jewish temple rituals of the day. It would be burned, and the smoke from that was seen as the prayers that were going into heaven. And so Jesus is given the gift of frankincense. And then this last one, he's given the gift of myrrh. I know it looks like chicken nuggets. Those are not chicken nuggets. That is a picture of myrrh. A little bit different than frankincense. This was a bitter-smelling resin. Soldiers would actually use this in battlefield when they had wounds that needed to be treated. If you had infections, it had antibacterial properties to it. It was also used as a sedative. You would mix it with wine, and you would give it to someone in pain. If you know the story of Jesus, you know about 30-some years later, they hand him this drink that is wine mixed with myrrh to help take away the pain of his crucifixion. It was also used to embalm bodies. It helped with the smell and decaying of the bodies. This gift of myrrh was given to Jesus too. I kind of wonder though, as Joseph is there, if he's sitting back and he's thinking to himself, you know what, we're going to keep the golds, but I think we should re-gift the frankincense and the myrrh. Maybe give that to somebody else. I wonder if he thought that. But whatever the case is, the Persian priests that are there, they understand who Jesus is. Really better than Jesus' own people. They don't even notice these things that are happening here. And so these Persian priests, they bring these perfect gifts to Jesus. And really, they're more than just tangible things. They were symbolic of who he was. That gold was symbolic of royalty. And they were saying, hey, this is this king that has been prophesied for hundreds and hundreds of years. The frankincense was this symbolic thing of he's this priest, right? He's the connection point between us and God, and he's that middleman, if you will. And so the frankincense really kind of is symbolic of him as our priest. And then lastly, that myrrh, it was symbolic of him becoming our Savior, being willing to give his life for you and me. And so each of these gifts had meaning behind them. There was purpose behind them. And again, it was the perfect gift for a perfect king. A perfect gift for you and me. In the book of John, we read this, John 3:16, for this is how God loved the world. He what? He gave his one and only Son. That Jesus wasn't just a gift for us. Jesus was the perfect gift for humanity, for you and for me. And the gift of Jesus was very different than the gifts that those Persian priests gave, right? He wasn't the wealth of gold or the aroma of frankincense or the sedative of myrrh. Jesus was this gift of light into our darkness. If we go back to the book of John, he tells the Christmas story a little bit different than Matthew and Luke, and I think he does it in a very artistic way. We read this in John 1:5, the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never extinguish it. For some of you, this year has probably been a dark year for you. Maybe for you, there's been debilitating sickness or a diagnosis that brought tears or the loss of a job or the loss of a loved one. Maybe some of you this year, mental health struggles kind of took hold of you, or family squabbles took place. Or maybe it's been a hard year, a tough year, a dark year. Or maybe just look at the world around us we live in, and the world's kind of dark, right? It's kind of crazy. And yet in this darkness around us, it could be that this time of year we need to be reminded of the perfect gift. A light that shines in our darkness. One of the lines we see there is, Son of God loves pure light, radiant beams from thy holy face. Nothing else can light the darkness better than Jesus can. Jesus is that radiant light for us, and that light changes us. There's this one piece in that passage that we ran through pretty quickly here with the wise men. It says, when they saw the star, they were filled with joy. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. The prophecies they knew, the trip that they took, it led them to this ultimate gift of Jesus. They encounter the King. And because of this, they are filled with joy. Their gifts were great. They were symbolic. They were purposeful. They had meaning. But the greatest gift was the gift in the light and the darkness. The greatest gift was Jesus. And that filled them with joy. Tomorrow morning, you're going to open presents. And you're going to get happy, right? You're going to see some presents you really are glad you got. Some you probably didn't quite expect. Some you're probably going to take back, but that's okay. There's going to be this feeling of happiness. When it comes to Jesus being the light in our darkness, it's more than happiness. It's really about the joy we feel through Christ. And so tomorrow, as we celebrate together, maybe some of you are celebrating this evening, may you experience the light in the darkness. May you experience, like the wise men, the joy that comes because of the birth of Jesus.